Coming up on Mountain News this morning, President Trump threatens the Insurrection Act as protests escalate in Minneapolis. And lawmakers on Capitol Hill hear about the dangers of kids spending too much time in front of screens.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
It is 6 o'clock, which means it's time to check in with meteorologist Megan Desmel for a look at your forecast this morning. Megan, winter finally caught up with us. I literally had on gloves, scarf, hat, coat, cardigan, all the things this morning.
When I left out the door, I should have had more layers, but I was like, nah, I'll make it to the car in time. It's fine. Don't do that. You're going to want those layers. Yeah, it's definitely a very cold start to your day. Let's take a look at those current temperatures. A mixture of the teens and low 20s for some, but even worse, we're seeing some single digits out there. 8 degrees in Clintwood, 9 degrees in Jonesville. So layers, layers, layers. It's going to be important to start off the day. Thankfully, though, we will be warming up with highs near normal for this time of year and a mixture of the mid 40s. Some folks even seeing the upper 40s. But in terms of what we're looking at, well, a little bit of some scattered snow showers this morning, but as we head into the the evening hours, we're seeing a chance of a wintry mix returning. So here's a look at that dog walking forecast. We have Groot Walk by Jennifer. Probably not the best day as it will be cold, especially in the morning hours. And of course, we do have that wintry mix later on, which will make walking probably not too fun. Caroline.
Thank you, Megan. President Trump is threatening to send the U.S. military to Minnesota as protests continue in the Twin Cities. Overnight, more demonstrations against the presence of federal immigration agents intensified following the second shooting involving an ICE agent. Minneapolis's mayor calls for cooler heads.
You have local and state leaders who seem to be encouraging violence and all of this madness, and the president's frustrated about it, and so are we.
We cannot counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos.
FBI Director Kash Patel says a person has been arrested in relation to vandalizing a federal vehicle in Minneapolis. The FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the return of property stolen from the car. U.S. allies in the Middle East are pushing to cool tensions between the U.S. and Iran amid Tehran's violent crackdown on protesters in recent weeks. This as President Trump hosted Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado at the White House as part of her push to strengthen ties with the U.S. Machado even gifted the president her Nobel Peace Prize. CBS News' Jared Hill has more from New York.
A peace prize offering. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado gave President Trump her Nobel Prize medallion during a visit to the White House.
As a recognition for his unique commitment with our freedom.
On social media, the president called it a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. It's an award he's wanted for himself for quite some time.
I can't think of anybody in history that should get the Nobel Prize more than me.
The lunch meeting, which Machado says went very well, came almost 2 weeks after the U.S. captured former Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro. Soon after, President Trump said it would be hard for Machado to lead Venezuela because she lacks respect from its citizens. Trump instead backing Maduro's number two, the now interim Venezuelan President Delcy Rodriguez.
They have thus far met all of the demands and requests of the United States. The president likes what he's seeing and will expect that cooperation to continue.
All this as the Pentagon released new video of the U.S. military seizing a 6th oil tanker early Thursday morning. Across the world, several key U.S. allies in the Middle East have engaged in intense diplomacy to try and stave off a military conflict between the U.S. and Iran. As sources tell CBS News, thousands have been killed in anti-government protests.
If the killing continues, there will be grave consequences.
The White House says Iran has called off hundreds of planned executions, but if violence reignites, quote, all options remain on the table. Jared Hill, CBS News.
One reason I didn't want to do that because I said people are going to think about that, but
Back to the Nobel Peace Prize. Ahead of Maria Corina Machado's visit to the White House, the Nobel Peace Center posted on social media that a medal can change owners, but the title of Nobel Peace Prize cannot. One proposed bill would change Kentucky law when it comes to licensed child care centers and how square footage is calculated. Representative DJ Johnson, an Owensboro Republican, proposed House Bill 190. It would change the definition that determines how many children are allowed in each daycare center. Johnson says under current law, only classrooms count toward square footage. He wants to change the law to include classrooms and hallways. More square footage means more children allowed.
It redefines the square footage just a little bit to help the daycare centers maybe make it and stay open. And the short answer is if they can't make it financially, they close and we got no child care. It may involve having 1 or 2 extra children in the facility, but 1 or 2 extra children is a little bit more revenue that a nonprofit might need to continue to keep the doors open, and for the for-profit places as well. Their margins are very, very tight.
The proposed law would require child care centers to have 35 square feet of indoor space per child enrolled. It's been assigned to the House Families and Children Committee, but hasn't come up for a vote. A Senate committee passed a measure that would help Kentuckians build weather-safe rooms in their homes. Senator Stephen Meredith, a Republican out of Litchfield, sponsored Senate Bill 11, which calls for a pilot program to establish a safe room rebate fund. If passed, the state would provide rebates of up to $5,000 to construct or install a safe room. Meredith says he got the idea from a mayor in his district.
Mayor Billy Phelps from Morgantown, and he had received a substantial federal grant for a community storm shelter, which we're very appreciative of. But you know, being in rural Kentucky, the thought of you hear a tornado warning, getting you into your vehicle and driving a considerable distance to have a community safe room doesn't make the most sense.
There is a catch. You have to let community members in if there's a storm. The legislation also directs the state to maintain a public list of available safe rooms. The bill now heads to the full Senate. A Senate committee led by Republican Ted Cruz heard from experts on the adverse effects of excessive screen time for children impacting their well-being and development. They testified that parents who don't set screen time limits aren't the only ones contributing to the problem, citing research showing that the technology schools are incorporating for learning may actually be detrimental.
Kids need time to be kids, to experience the real world, not to get lost in a virtual one.
Once countries adopt digital technology widely in schools, performance goes down significantly.
Cruz and Democratic Senator Brian Schatz also reintroduced legislation to help protect kids from the harmful impacts of social media. The Kids Off Social Media Act would set a minimum age to use social media platforms at 13 and prevent social media companies from using algorithms to feed addictive content to users under the age of 17. AAA says a new survey shows most drivers know certain behind-the-wheel behaviors are dangerous, but admit they still do it. AAA's latest Traffic Safety Culture Index survey shows how drivers see their own habits on the road. It found most people understand the risks of distracted driving, aggressive and impaired driving, yet a significant number say they have done those very things in just the past month.
Drivers understand the dangers of some of these driving behaviors like distracted driving, aggressive driving, speeding, even impaired driving, even things like drowsy driving. They understand that those are dangerous behaviors.
AAA says the gap between what drivers know and how they act continues to put everyone on the road at risk. AAA says the data helps them focus messaging on personal responsibility and reminding drivers that those choices can have lifelong consequences.
Watching just some slight amounts of snow this morning for our far western counties. Here's a look on satellite and radar as that snow moves across Wayne, Pulaski, McCreary County, even portions of Campbell County, Tennessee. And we'll continue to see that just for a couple of minutes to an hour or so. But that's not the main line we're watching today. We do have a wintry mix returning this evening that we have our eyes focused on. Here's a look at temperatures, though. Very cold, mixture of the teens and 20s. And by the time we head into the afternoon, we will be warming up into the mid to upper 40s, which isn't too bad. But of course, that wintry mix chance will be bringing colder air, dropping us down heading into the weekend. So here's a look at the temperatures throughout the next couple hours. High temperatures will be about that 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock time frame, with chances of wintry mix really picking up around 7 p.m. Caroline.
Thank you, Megan. And thank you for getting your day started with us here on Mountain News this morning. Still to come, the legislative session continues in Frankfort. How some lawmakers are targeting immigration enforcement in their proposed bills.